In this video, I'm going to go over the basics of how a Facebook pixel actually works, because I realized that in my videos where I show you how to run campaigns, I end up talking to a lot of people that don't understand like the core concepts of how a Facebook pixel actually works. So let's dive into this thing called Events Manager here. And if you don't know, this menu up here inside of Facebook ads, you can go between Ads Manager, which is where you actually run your ads, and Events Manager, which is where your Facebook pixel actually lives. Now, if this is your first time coming here, there's going to be a message that says something like, you don't have a pixel, create a pixel. To create a pixel, it's as easy as clicking create pixel, giving it a name, and then it's going to make it for you. And that's really it. You don't have to do anything aside from that to make a pixel. Now, another thing that I can't really show you unless I just made a new pixel for no reason, which then you actually can't delete pixels, is that when you make it, it's going to try to ask you to set it up with a website. You can just close that and just ignore it. There's all these different integrations to set up a Facebook pixel on your website. The way that we do it in the music world for almost every site is just by using your actual pixel ID. You don't actually need to set it up with code. You don't need to use their fancy integrations. You just need this number. And so whatever setup things it wants to do after you make the pixel, like connecting with a website, a third-party integration, whatever, just close it and get to this window. There's going to be no data in there, but you just need to get this number. So what is a Facebook pixel actually? So now that you have one made, think of it as kind of like a social security number for your data. So for example, when someone lands on, and I'll use ToneDen as an example, you might have seen in my conversion campaign videos, I use services like ToneDen and Hyped It. When people get to this page, it fires a page view event. And it basically sends a message to Facebook. Sorry, ToneDen sends a message to Facebook saying, hey, we have a page view event from this pixel ID. And then Facebook receives that and says, okay, cool, we got it. And when people click on this Spotify button or Apple Music or iTunes, it fires a view content event. So it sends a message to Facebook saying, hey, we have a view content conversion from this pixel ID. And that's how Facebook knows, like they track what URL was used, they track what ad campaign the person came from, if they came from one at all, and they also track, what placement, etc., and on all this different information. But basically, ToneDen sends that information to Facebook, Facebook logs it, and they can correlate it to a campaign, or if it's just an organic link. Because you can actually track this data even if you're not running a campaign. Even if you're just sharing links organically, you can still collect conversion data and all that jazz, assuming you've done all the iOS 14 stuff, which I'll link to a video here, maybe even a playlist there, so you can understand it a little bit better. But yeah, so that's how a Facebook pixel actually, that's what it is. It's just kind of like a number that Facebook uses to associate things that happen for you with your account. So you can have multiple pixels. Like here I have 2. You really only need 1. Like I've seen a lot of people who will make 1 for every song they do, and that's not a good thing to do. Because your pixel remembers information, and basically it uses previous information for similar events. So if view content, for example, I mentioned how ToneDen fires a view content conversion, Facebook's going to remember, well, in the past, when this person using this pixel optimized for view content, we got these results and these ones were good, so we're going to tailor our results going in that direction. So if you make a new pixel for every single song, you don't benefit from that. So, and that's kind of one thing, like if you have a brand new ad account with a brand new pixel, you are at a slight disadvantage because you have 0 data in your account. And you don't want to make a new one for every single time. However, let's say you have a website in addition to like a landing page that you're running ads on. If you have view content firing in multiple different places, and maybe in one case view content means they converted on a ToneDen page, and in another case it means that they looked at a product on your Shopify store, you have the same event that means 2 different things, and that's really not ideal. It's probably not going to ruin your day or ruin your life in your ads or anything, but it's going to make it a little harder for Facebook to figure out well, for your ad account, for this pixel, what does view content actually mean, and how can we adjust things like time after time to get you the best results. So there are reasons to have multiple pixels, but typically, for most artists, if you're just running Spotify, Facebook ads, you just need 1. So how do you actually set up a pixel on ToneDen, because I think it'll be good to actually show you. All you need is this number here. So if we go over to ToneDen, and I'll click on Edit Link and go to Tracking Settings. This is going to be different for every single service you're using, but basically you just paste your number there, and then you click Continue and finish the link. So you make the link, you just literally copy that number and put it where it asks for the pixel ID, and then it's going to work. And there is actually a few ways you can prove that it's set up correctly, which I recommend you do every single time. And I'll show you that right after a message from this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And one of the cool things I like about Skillshare, especially related to you person watching this video, is that you're likely a musician, I'm assuming, and you're also interested in marketing music, which means you need to learn how to use music software, which is very complicated. I've been using it for years now, but there was a time where I had to consume tons of tutorial content to learn how to use it. And the same goes if you're making video content for your social media, video content for your ads, pictures, press images, whatever. You want to do photography so you can take great images. Whatever it is, Skillshare's got you covered. And there's a ton of courses for that, or even to learn about Facebook ads. But I talk a lot about on this channel. I don't normally cover the super basics. They got you covered there, and they got a lot of courses as well. And by the way, the best part, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. You can go in there, you can check out courses, learn some stuff, and if you like it, keep going with the subscription and expand your skill set. All right, back to the video. So here we are back where we left off. So we're going to grab this ToneDen link that we just put the pixel on, or we just made sure the pixel was on there. So if we go to test events, and this is actually a really good way to learn how the pixel works, because I described it to you before, but if I paste that link in here, and by the way, this test events page, it doesn't work in Safari, and if you have any ad blockers on it, won't work, because if you have an ad blocker, the whole point of that is to block ads, and pixels are used to communicate ads, so ad blockers block Facebook pixel. So if you have an ad blocker on, even if you're using Chrome, Chrome is pretty much the default for Facebook. Everything works. I think Firefox can work, but Safari doesn't, and I've seen other browsers. I think Edge hasn't worked. Maybe it was Internet Explorer. But try to use Chrome and make sure you just turn off any ad blocker extensions you have. Turn off the entire ad blocker extension, or this won't work. So we'll just click Open Website after you do that. And then now we should have a page view. As I mentioned before, someone lands on the page, ToneDen's going to fire a page view message to Facebook. And then we see a page view. It's cool. And you can see here it knows what link it came from, and there's also some other data in here that ToneDen throws along for the ride. So now if I click on any of these buttons, but I'll click on Spotify, and this is my song. If I go back to Events Manager, there's a few things that happen, but mainly, you can ignore this one for now. View Content Fire. As I mentioned, click button. ToneDen uses the View Content standard event. You don't need to make a custom conversion like you do for Hyped It. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But it's built in. This event fires by default. So, and then you see the link here. You see some information that ToneDen passed along the way. And so that's how it works. They're just sending messages to Facebook with your essentially your social security number for your data, which is your pixel. And that's how Facebook knows, this link, this pixel, how did this happen? You can make custom conversions. So this one is ToneDen Spotify. So this thing here will only fire when people click Spotify. And this is a way, here in Facebook, we saw that when I clicked on View Content, we had this little Spotify thing that shows up. You can use this parameter to make a custom conversion that specifically optimizes for Spotify. And by doing this, you can track Spotify versus Apple versus iTunes if you wanted to. And that can be useful. I don't usually do that, but I have it set up in some instances because it's, sometimes it's good to test it and see if there's any differences that occur there. So now I want to talk about one of the biggest things I see people mess up, and I don't know how people even figure out how to do this, but if you're running a campaign and you realize that either when you're testing your link, let's say this fired and there were 2 View Content events that fired, there really only should be 1. ToneDen by default, as I showed you, all you have to do is copy in that ID and the view content event fires. And you'll see here, received from browser, manual setup. That's what we did. If you see something here that says event setup tool, that's going to be the reason why you have 2 conversion events firing. And that can severely mess up your campaign. And like, it basically just makes the campaign a wash almost, like it ruins the whole thing. So always, every time you make a link, go to test events and check it. Make sure you don't have dual things firing. But if you have issues with your campaign, like you're seeing way more results in Facebook than ToneDen, then that could be the reason why. And then to fix that, basically, you can go to this add events thing from the pixel. And remember, don't do this. Like, don't set up your pixel events this way. You're only coming here if you accidentally already did this. But you would go to open event setup tool, paste your link, and then you could delete your events the same way you added them. And I don't know how people learn about this event setup tool thing, because I don't think I've ever showed it in a video. But just if you're using ToneDen or Hyped or Feature FM or any of those main services, you don't need to do this. And I've seen so many people mess it up, I thought I should talk about it. So if your pixel's brand new, like you might be seeing all this data I have here and you're kind of just like, I don't have anything here. And it's just because like when you have no data in your account, they're not going to show like a chart of data, right? You won't start seeing events pop up down here until you fire them. So like if you get your pixel, throw it on a ToneDen page and click a button, like 15, 30 minutes later, you should see it show up here. There is kind of a delay between things happening and them showing up here. So sometimes, if you know you've done everything right, like you're following one of my previous tutorials to set up Hyped It, or you're setting up anything else that is not working, sometimes the solution is just to wait a half hour. So, if your account's brand new, you're not going to have any of this stuff. This is just showing this data because these are events that have happened in my account in the past 28 days, as you can see by the state selector. Now, on the flip side, if it's your first time running a campaign, you just set up all your pixel stuff, when you go to actually make your ad, you're going to get all these warnings about like this event hasn't been used in the past 7 days, or we don't have any data for this pixel. If you've never run an ad before, you've never sent people to a page that has a pixel of yours, then Facebook has no data. So they're just warning you to make sure like, hey, did you, like maybe this is a mistake, but like if you're new, it's just because you've never run anything before and you can pretty much disregard it. So if you want to learn more about marketing music with Facebook ads, you can check out this playlist right here. I have plenty of examples where I go through the entire campaigns. And if you want to see what YouTube thinks you should watch, you can check out this playlist right here and subscribe right there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.